Welcome to the video, guys. Some of you might remember just before the election last month, I did a video on Jonathan Ashworth, the Labour MP whose Tory activist friend recorded and leaked a phone call between them, where for the first time in recent history, a Labour MP actually told the truth. The conversation was about the dire straits Labour found themselves in just before the election. Well, to be honest, the writing was on the wall for them, as I and so many others predicted before the election was even called. I was never in doubt the Tories would end up with a majority, regardless of when it was called, because not only Jeremy Corbyn, but Brexit, Labour's obsession with identity politics, unhinged wokeness, and their batshit crazy policies all played a part in driving people away from them, and the Lib Dems for that matter. The morning this call was leaked, Jonathan Ashworth was booked to appear on the Politics live show and was left squirming by the BBC host when he claimed his comments about Labour's situation were just banter, even though they actually came true like he was fucking Mystic Meg or something. And you could tell by the tone of his voice that he was not joking around. He was giving an honest, no BS assessment of what he has seen on the door in response to a Tory activist who is also knocking on doors. You know what, rather than talking about it, let's hear a few clips from it for ourselves once more. I won't play it all because it was a fairly long phone call. I will just play a few highlights so you get my point.
For what it's worth, I think my Labour colleagues are more correct than my Tory friends on this.
What sort of proportion of them do you reckon, what sort of proportion of them think that Labour's going to get smashed?
Oh, I mean, anyone in the sort of middle, the middle, outside of the sort of city seats, if you're in sort of small town Midlands and North, it's abysmal out there.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't like Johnson, but they can't stand Corbyn, and they think Labour's blocked Brexit.
Yeah.
But on the other end of the sketches, I think kind of middle class graduates, sort of Remainy people, Labour's probably doing well and sort of Lib Dems are probably doing well, but not in big enough numbers to deny the Tories a majority, is what I think. But I just can't see it happening. So it wouldn't surprise me, for the sake of argument, that if Labour held somewhere like Canterbury because of sort of middle class kind of Guardian reading people, but then the Tories take bowls over of Labour. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at all, because the electoral map is being going topsy turvy because of Brexit, and because of Corbyn.
Is there any reassurance you can give me as to what would sensible Labour MPs do to stop Corbyn actually getting the seals of office on? Is there anything that would happen, or is it just have to sort of hold?
Because we fucked it up. We fucked it up in 2016.
Yeah.
When we went too early, people like me were internally saying this isn't the right moment, but I got kind of ignored.
Yeah.
Went too early, and so now I'm afraid. But I don't think we're going to get there. I just can't see it. I mean, I've been out in places like Mansfield and Ashfield, and it's dire for the Labour Party up there, these traditional areas. Just can't see it. It's not going to happen. Stop worrying. It's not going to happen.
If he got in, would he be as bad as I expect?
I don't know. I think on the in the security stuff. I've worked in Number 10. I think the machine will pretty quickly move to safeguard security things. I mean the civil service machine.
So you reckon they wouldn't let him see stuff?
But he's going to do it. But it's not going to happen. I cannot see it happening. But look, I've been going around these national places. It's dire for Labour. It's dire. And my strategy is just to try and help as many of my colleagues back over the line, banging on about the NHS in their areas for them. But it's awful for them. And it's the combination of Corbyn and Brexit.
Well, it's pretty obvious he is not joking, and that is just a few clips from the full phone call. Like I said, it was a fairly long one, about 11 minutes if I remember correctly. And I actually covered it in a video at the time because of the piss poor excuse he gave on the Politics Live show, which was that it was all banter. Now, despite being correct in predicting Labour's obliteration at the last election, it seems he has not learned to just be honest about stuff we all know to be true. Because he's still claiming it's banter, even now that reality has proved he was stating what people on the door was telling him, and the public voting the Tories in proved he was right about literally everything. Therefore, in my opinion, proving it's not banter. Like I said, it was an honest, no BS assessment with someone he considered a friend, even though the guy leaked this call, which as I said at the time, is rather a scummy thing to do. So, let's see him double down and continue claiming it's banter with yet more piss-poor excuses on the Politics Live show.
We do discuss the candidates. John, you'll be delighted to know the last time you were on this programme was during the election campaign towards the end. You were responding to the leak of a phone call between you and a Tory activist friend.
Not a friend anymore.
Surprise, surprise. In the phone call, you had said that it was dire on the doorstep for Labour and they were struggling. Here's how you explained yourself.
I was talking to him. He was saying, his sources at the CCHQ say, Labour's doing well. And I'm doing the old sort of, what Alex Ferguson would do, football managers trying to psych him out, saying, no, you're going to win, don't worry about it. Because I know he's an activist in Canterbury. I'm trying to make him complacent. Obviously, I look upon Canal. I was a smart aleck, too clever by half.
You say it's banter, but if you're saying you don't believe any of the stuff that you said, in response, you say, I've been going round these national places. It's dire for Labour, it's dire. I'm helping colleagues, banging on about the NHS for them, but it's awful for them. And it's the combination of Corbyn and Brexit outside of the city seats. It's abysmal out there. Do you believe that?
No, I don't. And again...
It's just banter.
Well, yes.
I mean, in that interview, John, you said you were being a plonker for the banter. Were you not instead a plonker for pretending you didn't really mean what you said?
No, because by that point of the campaign, I thought we had turned a corner and I thought we were probably heading for a sort of similar hung parliament, probably not a Labour victory, but probably a hung parliament. Remember that phone call was from a few weeks out, earlier in the campaign, when the first YouGov poll had come out, the one where they do the analysis of all the individual seats. And that YouGov poll, I think, was suggesting a 60-seat majority. So, no, I'm obviously, though, still very disappointed that... Are you
honestly saying that every word of that phone call that you said was joshing and banter, but actually happened and came true?
Well, every seat
when you
I
said it's the
combination...
Absolutely correct. So why don't you just fess up now?
Because
that is what you meant. Be truthful with the voters, with viewers. What you said then, you couldn't admit it then because you were in an election campaign, but you can now.
No, because I honestly thought I was exaggerating what was happening to a former friend who is not a friend, he's a duplicitous snake, quite obviously, Mr. Greg Baker. But I thought I was exaggerating things in order to sort of send him off to make him feel like, he didn't need to worry about stuff, right? It turns out that the election result in the end was worse than my exaggeration. It was actually worse. I mean, we took such a hammering, we lost seats, which I didn't even mention.
But let me
Now, I'm sure you all know I am no fan of Joe Coburn, but it is funny that as soon as John's back on the show, after the election, she is trying to skewer him yet again for his blatant bullshit claims of banter, when it actually happened as he said it would. I also find his new claim that Labour expected a hung parliament to occur to be complete nonsense. This was maybe a week or so before the election, and every poll and analyst in the country could see Labour was about to get obliterated by the public. The only people who thought different lived on Twitter and took their opinions from the echo chambers on there. And that is something we see play out with Jo Swinson's fantasy politics, that claimed she would win the election and be the Prime Minister, which I'm sure you will all agree she could have only got from Twitter, because every other metric said the same as reality showed us, which was that she couldn't even keep her own job, or that of half of her party's MP, let alone end with 200 seats and the job as the Prime Minister. Her claim there is about as credible as his claim that his accurate predictions were just banter. To me, his bitterness and attempts to drop the guy's name on the show tells me it was an honest conversation between friends, which has rightly burned him pretty deep. It is a bit of a shit thing to do, but welcome to politics, I guess. It's a dog-eat-dog world, and John Ashworth decided to chew off his own foot, the complete idiot, with his blunt honesty on the phone to a Tory activist. I have got to say, it should be honest that even a friend who is a rival political party's activist should not be trusted during an election campaign with shit that will get you in trouble, even if it is true and plain for all to see. I mean, let's be honest, it has been the election of leaks. We see The Guardian and other Ramona media jumping on the fake news that Boris Johnson beat up his missus because of Ramonin neighbours leaking an audio recording of what turns out was more likely his missus berating him because some wine or some shit got spilt. So realistically, John should have known this was always a possibility. But absolutely nothing he said there during that clip refuted Joe's claims that he was talking shit. Instead, he decides to double down on the bullshit, as is a common theme with Labour MPs. But let's check out the final clip from this segment.
The language you used in your banter, it's the combination of Corbyn and Brexit. Outside of the city seats, it's abysmal out there. They can't stand Corbyn, and they think Labour's blocked Brexit. Your analysis was spot on. It was as bad as it turned out to. You were.
I was right.
Because it's what you truly thought and it's what you truly knew.
Yes, but I was exaggerating because I thought...
But you knew that that was the truth.
No, I was exaggerating, and I thought by the end of the campaign, when we'd managed to highlight the state of the National Health Service, with the waiting list escalating, that we had turned a corner and we were heading for some form of probably similar hung parliament territory. Sadly, and heartbreakingly for me, who desperately wanted to be the Health Secretary to turn our NHS round, the result was much worse than many of us were anticipating, much worse than the YouGov poll of individual seats was predicting. But the thing is this, when you look at what happened, these have been trends in a lot of these seats for years. Some of these seats, like Sherwood in 2010, I know Sherwood well. I worked on the campaign in 2010. On election night in 2010, I was in a leisure centre and saw the Sherwood seat, which should have been a Labour seat, go to the Tories by 200 votes. It wasn't on Labour's radar for losing. It wasn't on the Tories' list for one they would win. Let me just finish this point. That seat, a former coal mining seat, where the former pit closed about 4 or 5 years ago, now has a Tory majority of 16,000, and the Tory MP sits in Boris Johnson's cabinet as the chief whip. These trends have been in our seats for some time.
But I'm talking about honesty here and being truthful. And is it time now for you, and I mean, lots of politicians do it, but is it now the time to say that what I was saying, my analysis was right then? I wasn't joshing. It wasn't banter.
I was exaggerating what I thought was going on in order to send off at this guy with a sort of sense that, he didn't need to worry. By the way, I've had lots of Tories, I shouldn't speak to Tories anymore, lots of Tory MPs come up to me, tell me how absolutely appalled they were by this guy's behaviour. And I've even had one Tory MP tell me what they think Labour held Canterbury as a result of his behaviour.
So Jo Coburn is not letting up with this. I think she actually thought now the election was over, he would admit that he was being truthful to his then friend, as we all know he was, and of course reality showed us. His excuses don't make any sense, and instead make it look more and more likely that he was being honest, because instead of giving a simple straight answer like you would if you was being honest, this pillock continues waffling shit with his next excuse, or deflection, whatever you want to call it, when he starts talking about trends over the last 10 years. Obviously, that has absolutely sweet fuck all to do with his claims that what he said was just banter. Actually, to me that kind of reinforces the fact what he said was an honest no BS assessment that he was seeing on the doors. If there are trends going back that long, then they show that the writing was on the wall long ago, and he knew it was going to happen when he spoke to this guy due to the so-called trends, Brexit and the Corbynated chicken. You can see Jo Coburn is having absolutely none of it and knows he's talking out of his arse. All she wants is him to just be honest and own up to the fact that he was telling the truth when he made that phone call. There was absolutely no banter involved at all. But towards the end of it, you actually hear the other panel members laughing at him in the background because he is talking Joe Swinson levels of bullshit there. It's incredible. Now I have to say, Jonathan Ashworth did not look very comfortable during that little segment, probably because he just keeps pointlessly lying about something that was plain for all to see long ago, and actually no longer matters since it was the truth. This is something MPs should be trying to do, you know, telling the truth. His excuses are that poor, they must have come out of Labour's textbook on how to answer questions during an election. You know, the same book that told Rebecca Wrong-Bailey to give the Corbynated chicken a 10 out of 10, despite suffering the worst election defeat in 85 years. But as I'm sure you're all aware now, I do love Labour MPs appearing on TV, because if they are not generally talking shit like John here, they provide us with complete car crash interviews, as we have seen and enjoyed many times before. Once again, John proves Labour and its MPs have learned nothing and instead will continue with their delusions even when they are caught out. You just can't teach stupid, I guess. But on that note, guys, I am going to end the video there. As some of you will know, I have started doing live streams and uploading gaming content on my second channel. If you are interested in joining me for a chat in real time during one of my live streams, have an interest in gaming related content on YouTube, or simply want to follow me over there because you are a legend, the link to subscribe will be down in the video description and as a pinned comment. I hope to see you all there. Now, as always, I want to thank our YouTube, PayPal, Patreon and Subscribe Star members for supporting the channel, along with everyone who watches my videos. Remember to let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. Leave a like, subscribe with a notification bell and share this video as it helps the channel a lot. And I'll see you all in the next one.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors. Slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires. And that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going and we are glad to be going. We're off.
Ramon! Ramon!